What is going on, fight fans and full-time family? Unless you've been quarantined under a rock, you've heard Jon Jones has been arrested for another DWI, but this time it's worse because there was also a charge of negligent use of a firearm, and Jon Jones was fucked up, it looked like in the video. I watched this video you can see on your screen without sound. This is Jon Jones' sobriety test, and police have also been releasing some more details of the Jon Jones arrest. Um, with that being said, we're going to cover some of those and just what this could possibly mean for Jon Jones, and some of the things that Jon Jones, some of the ways he acted in this video that I found kind of surprising. Like, for one, in this video, if I was fucking Alpaca Thesaurus or some body language expert, Jon Jones seemed like he was shook. Like, the normal protocol when you're arrested by police, if you, especially if you're a celebrity, you see celebrities get pulled over by police or anybody of, you know, that's not a normal citizen. A lot of times they'll have lawyers who instruct them to refuse the test, or stuff like that. But Jon Jones was very cooperative, which, if you're drunk, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to be as cooperative as Jon Jones was. And what I'm getting at is, it makes sense there was a handgun under the passenger seat, because it seems like Jon Jones was doing whatever he could to avoid them searching that car. That's why he was being so cooperative. That's why he wasn't being, he wasn't fighting back at all. He wasn't questioning. He answered the questions truthfully that he asked if he drank. He didn't deny it. That's one of the things I was getting at. He didn't deny the DWI at all. A lot of times if you've been drinking and driving, you're going to say, no, I haven't had a drink. It's like, yeah, I drank a Bud Light Platinum, I believe he said in the video. But then the officers find a bottle of Recuerdo Mezcal, Jorge Masvidal's new co-signed liquor, you know what I'm saying? And I think that stuff is what got Jon Jones twisted. The police in the report commented how it's 40% alcohol. Whoo, you know what I'm saying? That's that 80 proof. That stuff, that'll get you fucked up, especially if you're already drinking Bud Light Platinum. So, but one thing in the report it also said was Jon Jones was only 2 times over the legal limit. If you know the legal limit, you know the legal limit's very low. Jon Jones seemed like he was a little bit more than 2 times over the legal limit. But when the police officers first got up there, he did admit that he had been drinking a little bit. He failed the sobriety test, all 3 of them. Then they gave him 3 more alternate tests, and he did bad on 2 of those. And he seemed to be slurring his words also. I mean, so he was ultimately arrested, and once he was arrested is when they actually found the firearm under his driver's seat. Then they found a round, I believe a shell casing, outside of his window. So they were responding originally to a gunshot that they heard, and they asked Jon Jones if he knew anything about it. Of course, he denied that, but come to find out, there was a gun under his seat and a bullet outside of the car. So they're accusing Jon Jones of firing off that shot. Now, what the fuck was Jon Jones doing firing off a shot downtown while he was trying to help his homeless friends? I have no idea. Yes, Jon Jones did say, I have some homeless friends. I was just down here trying to be a good person, help out some of the homeless people. Like, what? You go downtown when you're drunk with a gun to help out homeless people? It ain't like you had a bunch of fucking quilts in the back seat. You had a pistol under your seat. I don't know about that one, John. Also, this is one of the greatest fighters of all time. Why do you have a pistol under your seat? What are you shooting at? Have you been playing too much Call of Duty? Have you been hanging out with Valentina Shevchenko a little too much? Because Valentina Shevchenko has came out and said Jon Jones is like a noble and honorable man, and she believes he's going to be innocent. And I don't know if she hasn't saw the video or not, but Jon Jones definitely has suspect behavior during this traffic stop. I mean, to not deny the DWI when you already have that history of, you've already had a DWI, so you already should be, on your toes, head on a swivel, trying to avoid getting another one. You should have a driver. You shouldn't even be driving drunk at this point. So there's only one or two things. Either that Recuerdo Mezcal's gonna get you fucked up to the point to where you disregard all your priors, or John Jones, I mean, when he got pulled over, was just so nervous, which that makes a lot of sense. He was nervous. He knew he had the gun probably. He probably knew he just fired off a shot. He was extremely nervous, like, yeah, I've been drinking, and didn't think they were going to find that. But they ended up finding it, and so now John Jones is in trouble again. There's talks of him possibly being suspended for a year. That's what some people are calling for. I mean, this man has already been stripped. He's already had the comeback story, and now he's another DWI, this time negligent use of a firearm. Who knows if he's going to be suspended again, lose the title. I mean, the light heavyweight division's in a good place now. You've got Dominic Reyes, you've got Thiago Santos, you've got Jan Blachowicz, you've got Corey Anderson, you've got some guys that can keep this division moving without John Jones and without Daniel Cormier. But John Jones was just on another run. He came back. From the suspension, from everything he already has been through, he came back. He was beating guys, even though he wasn't looking like he was in his prime. Honestly, he's been having a lot of close fights with guys that you might think John Jones should be beating. John Jones has been having a lot of close fights with, and so now he might have another year off. Is that gonna, when he comes back, is he gonna be able to do it again? I mean, can't count him out. And honestly, this was a good time for John Jones if the UFC can get back to having events. Because a lot of fighters are affected by this coronavirus and the whole fucking quarantine and the curfews and the no gyms and all of that shit that's going on right now. A lot of fighters are affected by this, but John Jones would be one of the fighters least affected because he's got money. He's a millionaire. He can afford to pay his coaches to come train him at home. He can afford to have all the best equipment. He don't need to go to a gym. He can have his training camp at his house. He can afford to do that. A lot of fighters can't. So if John Jones was to fight Dominic Reyes or Jan Blachowicz next, they might be affected by not being able to go to their gym more than John Jones. That could have been an advantage for John Jones. You know, this is the fight game. You need everything you can get. And now John Jones might be suspended, stripped, and have to do it all over again. But hell, there's talks that this whole quarantine can go on for over a year, so maybe he won't miss anything. I mean, Dana White's talking about he's been trying to keep the UFC having events, limited staff. You don't need that many people to put on a UFC show. They're testing these guys for coronavirus and everything. They're paying for the testing. Athletes are getting negative tests, and they're still not working with them. They're still not it seems like they're still not trying to let the UFC put on any events despite everything they're trying to do to keep the show rolling. But Tony Ferguson versus Khabib seems like it has to happen. Dana White's talking about building the best fight card ever. The best fight, one of the most stacked fight cards ever. Because we just had 3 events canceled. Francis Ngannou's still looking to fight versus Jared Rosenstruck. We've had a few main events canceled recently. He put all the main events on this one card, possibly. I mean, it was already a stacked card, with Khabib versus Ferguson. So, hopefully the UFC will be able to keep this rolling. But even after that, who knows how much longer the UFC is going to be able to keep putting on shows while this whole coronavirus is going around. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, John Jones arrested again. It is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And there's more details. Of course, you can go check out MMAJunkie.com. The cops have released their full statements and details, and they said they saw weed, but they didn't mention any smell weed, which is interesting to me. Unless John Jones is smoking Reggie, I don't know how you can see weed and not smell it. They said there was a green substance on John Jones' shirt that was consistent with marijuana, but they didn't talk about the smell. And you could smell marijuana before you see it, so I don't know how that happened. I mean, usually, yeah, I don't know how you can just see the marijuana and not smell it. Maybe this nose fucking is clogged up. Maybe he had some allergy. I don't know. Either way, man, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.